Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm so glad that you can join me here where we learn about what type of real estate to buy. I want to let you know that I have a webinar chat open and I love an active chat. So if you're here, I just want you to say hello. I want you to say that you can see and hear me. I have enabled the chat to have everyone messaging each other, and it looks like we have several people, a lot of people coming in already. So hi, Andrew. Hi, Franny. Hi, Janelle. You made it. Hey, Jane. I haven't talked to you in a while. How fun. Hi, Jessica and Joni and Valente and V and Yashika. I'm so glad to see you all. All right, and I might not have gotten everyone, but I'm glad that you're here. So today I have prepared a really fun and a really great presentation for you. As I work with clients, I notice that they're often buying properties that don't match their long-term goals. And so I'm going to help you change that. And today we're going to go through and decide what type of property you're buying, and I want you to get clarity on that. We're going to be very granular about it. And I know that I tend to use industry terms. And so if there are any terms that you want me to slow down and talk through and explain, I'm so happy to do that. So today, this is the webinar called Real Estate Investing, Knowing What Type of Real Estate to Buy. And I'm so glad that you're all here. We're going to have a really great time today. We're all going to be interactive and chatting. Here's how I see it. There are two factors that make or break your real estate investing. One is the property you choose, and the second one is the strategy that you use. And we're going to go into detail on all of that in just a minute. We're going to get to a teaser on strategy, a little bit of the strategy today, and then we're going to go into it in more depth in our next webinar. So be ready to sign up for that. In the next 45 minutes, you are going to have decided the property that you're choosing to buy, and you're going to get a good idea of the strategy that you want to use as well. So I want to start by everyone knowing your circumstances. How much money do you have to invest? And the thing that I want you to kind of start figuring out is it less than 60K? Is it between 60K and 150K? Or is it over 150K? I want you to put yourself in one of those three camps. We're going to use number one for under 60K, number two for 60K to 150K, and then number three for 150K plus. So everyone put in the chat, and let's see, did that stop sharing? I think it stopped presenting, but I want to see where you're at. So this is worth it. Hello, Joni. Number one. Any others? Anybody in two or three? This is where people usually get started. Number one. Hi, Piper. Fun to see you. Franny. Awesome. All right. So we have a couple of twos, lots of ones. I'm going to gear this presentation toward the amount of money that you have to invest. So that's why I wanted to know. So figure out what amount of money that you have to invest. And I want you to be able to look beyond just the cash that you have sitting in your bank account right now. We don't always keep like 100K sitting in a bank account at all times. I want you to consider stocks that you have that you might choose to cash in, bonds, 401k, equity in your home. And I want to explain what equity is. When you buy your home, over time, real estate tends to become worth more. And when it becomes worth more over time, the amount that you owe on your home and the amount that it's worth, there begins to be a gap here. And that gap is called equity. So that is, 200K, 100K. That might be money that you can use to invest that you didn't even know that you have. And the other thing is equity in a rental property. So I work with several clients who are brand new. And then I work with some clients as well who have owned properties. Someone I was talking to yesterday, he owns 16 single family properties. Some others might just own 3. But when they own these single family properties, each of those properties has become worth more over time. And so it's possible for you to access that money. And we're not going to go into that right now. I've talked about it a little bit on my Instagram on Ask Me Anything at Alyssa Holbrook Coach. But you're welcome to ask me questions there. But there is some money that might be stored up in the rental properties that you already own. And I have this philosophy of when is the right time to sell real estate. And I like to say never, unless you're trading up. And so there is a point where you have built up a certain amount of money in your own personal property or in other rental properties. And it's actually time for you to trade those in. And the money, the equity that you have, let's say you have $100,000 in that property. And when you sell it, you're able to use that $100,000 and as the down payment, the 25% down payment on your next property. So now you're able to buy a $400,000 property where in the past you might only own a $200,000 property right now. And so you can leverage up. Okay, so the second circumstance after the money that you have that you can invest is the time that you have to work with. How much time do you have to invest in real estate in an ongoing basis? So, not just in the next 3 months when you're getting it set up, but let's look at your time. 0, I don't want to spend any time learning real estate. There are actually people who might be on this call who aren't interested in making real estate a big part of their life. I have a way for people to invest that doesn't involve you learning how to invest in real estate. And I'm going to tell you about that a little bit later when we get to the decision tree. So hang around. Okay, the second way, the second type of time that you might have is I want to get it set up and then I want to forget about it. I want to spend 3 to 6 months, get the property up and performing, go through my 6 simple steps that I teach you. And then after that, hire out a management company and have it making money for me passive. The third camp you might be in is hands-on, and I want you to be typing in which one you are. 0 is number 1, set it up and forget it is number 2, hands-on is number 3, and then we'll go into the fourth. Who wants to be hands-on? They want to continue, they want to manage the property themselves. They want to continue to grow their money and be trading in and out, a very active investor. And then the final fourth camp that you might be in is I want real estate investing to replace my job. And some of the clients that I work with, one was a lawyer. She actually said, I want real estate to replace my job. And she was able to quit her job and just does some part-time work now. And they're buying a property in Louisville. And that property is bringing in quite a bit of passive income for them every year. So let me see in the chat. What are your answers? 2 for now, but eventually 4. I love it. 2, 2 and 3, 2, 2, 2, 2.5. That's awesome, B. 3. I'm going to answer that question for Matt at the end. Okay, 4, 4. Awesome. Welcome. Good. It's so fun that we have people in a lot of the different camps, but most are 2, 3, or 4. That is great to know. Okay. I want you to know that no matter which camp you're in and no matter how much money you have, you are in the right place. Real estate investing isn't just for other people, it is for you. And I love thinking of this almost like the medical field. When you go in to become a doctor, there are a ton of different things that you could do. There's a whole plethora. You could be a cardiac surgeon, you could be a brain surgeon, you could be a family doctor. And real estate is like that as well. We have active ways to create income, we have passive ways to create income, and we have things in between. So real estate is vast and there is a place for you. The next thing that I want you to figure out is the outcome that you want to create. This is very, very important to the type of real estate that you're going to choose to buy. So again, we're going to use numbers 1, 2, or 3. Are you going to grow your money quickly to create a larger down payment? So I want to explain what I mean by that. I'm going to say right now I have $60K that I want to invest or $30K that I want to invest. This is a lot of you because a lot of you are in the first camp. What I'm guessing is that if you just put that money straight into a property that was buy and hold, it's not going to create the kind of cash flow that you want. Luckily, a lot of you also answered that you were in camp 2 or 3, so you have some time to work with. You have time and money. When you put the money into a property and improve that property, you are creating a larger down payment when you have either a refinance or a sale on the other end. And so you are taking your 30K and you're going to grow it into 60K, or you're taking your 60K and you're going to grow it into 100K or 120K, whatever it is. So that's number 1. Put number 1 if that's you. The second thing might be that you want to diversify. So you already have a portfolio, you have stocks, bonds, 401ks, and you just want to add another stream of income. Tell me number 2 if that's you. The third one is to set it and forget it. So you're going to put some money into a property and it's just going to grow over a long period of time. You're going to allow the market to do its thing. All right, I see some people in the chat. Tell me. Two, two, one, two, and three. I love it. Growing your money is very common for the clients that I work with, and I'm able to use all of my skills as everything that I know and as the expert that I am to help you grow your money. That's where we get more creative. That's where we see more solutions. All right, I love it. Thanks for participating. So, why this matters is because the money that you have, the time that you have, and the outcome that you want to create are going to change how you invest. Real estate investing isn't one size fits all. We need to tailor it to you specifically. Otherwise, you could end up with a second job when you didn't want a job. All right. Okay, I want to share this story because I am a person, I don't know about you, but it's kind of how the human brain works. I tend to discount my results naturally. And so I had been buying, developing, investing in properties, but telling myself that I wasn't the person doing it, right? I had partners, it was a joint venture. At the time I was investing with my husband, and I would just tell myself that it seemed easier than I thought. And so one day I decided that I would just buy a property. And within literally about 72 hours, I started looking at properties. I found one that I liked. It came into my email inbox from a wholesaler. And I said, that property is going to be cash flowing on day one. So that's the first thing that I want to tell you. The properties can be cash flowing on day one. It already had a renter in it, and it came from a wholesaler, which is someone who gets a property under contract and then transfers it to someone else at a discounted price. And so that was me. I wanted to be the buyer of this property. And I talked to Josh. He was the person who had it for sale. And I said, Josh, I would like to buy this property. The numbers look good. And I hadn't seen it, but that's how wholesale property works. Now, that's not going to work for you always. We want to be very strategic about the types of properties that you buy and when you make offers. But I had been doing this long enough that I knew that I could feel confident in that the pictures of this property were good enough. And then I could look at it when I was under due diligence. And so I said, I want to tie this property up. And he said, well, everyone's coming through and they're going to tour it on Saturday. And I said, I don't want to wait until Saturday. I'm your buyer. I will bring the earnest money to you. And he said, well, I'm 30 minutes away. I said, how about I meet you on your way home? And so I wrote a check, I took it to him, I gave him the earnest money, and I signed the contract. I bought this property and I actually counted my hours and made sure that I did every single part of it along the way. And it took me between 16 and 20 hours to buy this property. So a lot of the time we think of buying real estate and we think, oh, the returns, the income coming in are a long ways off. I want you to type yes in the chat if you've had that perception that it's not going to be returning right away. Then I want to hear if you have struggles with giving yourself credit, with thinking that you can do it. I want you to type I can do it in the chat. I want to see if that's kind of your mindset block that comes up for you. And then the third one is if you think that money pays you in a long way off. And I just want you to say a long way. Okay, I can do it. I can do it. Yes. I love that. It was so fun to track every single thing that happened along the way. And that's why clients work with me. It's because they want me to hold their hand from the beginning to the end. And someone asked me that in my Ask My Anything on Instagram yesterday. I love my work because I get to be totally unbiased. Your relationship with me is not tied to a certain market within the US. It's just you and me working together. And so I'm willing to tell you when a property won't work. And some of my clients I have said, this is not a good property for you. Don't buy, don't move forward. Leave it in the due diligence process. Don't follow through. Long way. I love it. So we have some people who share all of my limiting beliefs. Next, I mentioned in some of my messaging for the webinar that there are a lot of different types of properties that exist. And luckily, I'm not going to get into every single type of property right now, but I wanted to give you just off the top of my head, my version of a comprehensive list of properties. These are the ones that I see that could be working for you. And so if you want to remember these, just screenshot them. And you can kind of see which one's a good fit, but I'm going to help you sift through these to the ones that I end up helping clients with most because it's the best fit for people just like you. That's who I work with. They're just like you. All right, so we're going to begin with just an overview of commercial real estate. I use this term commercial real estate, and so many people are like, what are you even talking about? What makes it commercial or residential? And these are even seasoned people in the industry. So it doesn't matter if you don't know that. I'm going to teach you right now. Any type of multifamily property, which is a property where more than one family is dwelling in the same unit, that is multifamily. If it is more than 4 units, it is considered commercial real estate. And the type of lending that we do for commercial real estate is different. I'm going to get into that in just a minute. But that's what multifamily is. Then also we have industrial. So this would be like properties where a plumber wants to store his stuff. That's like a warehouse. That's a version of industrial real estate. It's also in my hometown of Cheyenne, Wyoming, we have Microsoft and Meta are building data storage houses. That is also industrial. So has a lot of different subcategories within it, but industrial is something that's serving people in the business sense. Where they're able to store they're these large on the bottom left. That's an example of industrial properties. Then we have offices. I'm sure that we're all familiar with those. It's where you go and get your nails done, or it's where you go to the dentist. Office right now is a little bit tricky. It's in a recessionary phase within the real estate industry. And then the last one is retail. Retail is like a laundry facility, or it's your big box stores. It's AT&T, it's Starbucks. Those are all examples of retail real estate. Let me know if you have any questions along the way. What is residential real estate? Let's define what is the difference. Residential real estate is single family homes. And when it's more than one, we call it a duplex, a triplex, and a quadplex or fourplex. It's where 2, 3, or 4 families are dwelling in the same unit. Then we also have short-term rentals. This is a different way that you can rent out single-family homes or fourplexes or triplexes. You can rent them out for short periods of time, like on Airbnb. You're probably familiar with that. And then medium-term rentals. This is for like, did you know that when nurses are traveling, they actually just rent for like a month at a time? Or traveling veterinarians, those types of people might use a medium term rental. Also, when I was going through my divorce, we needed to use medium term rentals. We didn't want to be there for a year. We wanted to get our permanent living situation in place, but we didn't know like how long it was going to take. And so those are all examples. I want you to drop in the chat whether you think residential is going to be a right fit for you. And I also want to know if you're intimidated by commercial real estate. I want you to write intimidated if you're intimidated by commercial real estate, because some of determining the type of investing, the type of commercial or residential property is just going to be your comfort level. Okay, we have a couple people who are saying intimidated. So I'm going to try and make commercial a little bit less intimidating for you by walking you through it. But first, I'm going to answer why you might want to own real estate. Comfortable with residential, intimidated by commercial. I love the idea of commercial. How fun. So we have some people in every camp. Let's talk through why to own residential real estate. Residential real estate is easy to understand. In the US overall, we have a chronic undersupply of housing. This has been happening, especially with millennials. They're wanting to form households, but the cost of moving out of our parents' houses is too high. And so we see this pent up demand where households are not being formed as they used to be in the past. And we expect that to be changing. I was just at a commercial real estate conference last week, and we were talking about all these macroeconomic factors. But I think the thing that's important for you to know is that we have an undersupply of housing and that everyone needs somewhere to live. My business partner, Nick, he talks about, no matter how crazy the world gets, no matter how futuristic it gets, even if we're, doing work through virtual reality headsets, we're probably going to be doing it from our living room. And so residential real estate is really safe. It's really simple to manage because it's just 1 to 4 people and you can communicate with them directly. You can hire a property management company if you choose, but it's manageable for you. I still manage a couple of my own residential properties personally, and I would say it takes me between right around 2 hours a month to manage those 2 properties. It is very, very, it's not a whole lot of effort. maybe I'll just walk you through what that looks like. If something breaks in the property, like let's say that the oven breaks, we've had that happen. I just call an electrician who's going to go fix it, or I call an appliance repairman and send him over to the house and he fixes it. So it's literally a phone call, paying the invoice and receiving the tenant's phone call, and then following up and making sure that they're happy afterwards. It's a pretty simple process. Um, Janelle, yes, I will answer, how is commercial property changing? Okay. Oh, let me go back. In residential real estate, you also have a lower down payment. So a lot of you who are in that number one camp of 0 to 60K, residential is going to be a good fit for you because you're able to put down a small amount of money. And if you're open to it, you could even what's called house hack. House hacking is where you live in the property itself, and that enables you to put just 3.5 to 5% down on the property. So that is very accessible. In fact, I'm going to do some math really quick. Let's say that you live in an area where you want to buy a property that has 2 or 3 units, and it's going to cost $600,000. Times 0.035 is only a $21,000 down payment that you need. So house hacking might be a really great option for you. Residential real estate is very accessible and people perceive it as safe. Do you perceive it as safe? I'm curious. Okay, Valente. Alyssa, do you think that it's better to buy a property with your own resources as long as the performance improves what a bank offers you, or to buy a property with a down payment and obtain a mortgage loan? That is such a great question. So in general, I am a fan of using other people's money, which is kind of a way to say the bank's money. I love to use a bank loan, and I would prefer to own multiple properties, 25% of 4 properties, than own one property 100%. And the reason for that is because if you own 4 properties, each of those properties is going to be returning to you in 4 different ways. So you're going to have your cash flow that comes from the property. And granted, I agree with you, each property is going to have a lower cash flow than if you owned one property outright. However, they're also going to be paying you in appreciation. So each property is typically going to become worth more over time. And then you get to depreciate the properties on your taxes. You're just going to have some tax write-offs to offset the income that's coming in. And then the fourth thing is the money that's coming into your bank account every month, as well as the equity pay down. I don't remember what order those are in, but those are the 4 ways that they're going to pay you. I would rather have 4 assets that I have 25% of my own money in, and I would rather spread it over multiple people. Okay, great. Some of these questions I might have to answer at the end. So if you can save them, I will answer them after the presentation's done. All right, now we're going to talk through why to own commercial real estate. So commercial real estate, meaning multifamily that is more than 5 units, and other types of commercial real estate, which I can walk you through, like an AutoZone or a Starbucks or a retail strip center. So like a place where we have a laundromat, or you have a warehouse that you're renting out to plumbers or to electricians. That is all examples of commercial real estate. Restaurants are also an example of commercial real estate. These commercial properties have longer leases. So they are often 5 to 10-year leases. And you can take like the last month's rent, or I've done 3 of the last month's rent before when I felt like this tenant wasn't super stable, or when it was a lower than 5 years. And so you have this advantage of knowing that the money is coming in and having the tenant be obligated to pay you, sometimes in some cases, the entire 10 years of rent. They are obligated to pay you no matter what, with commercial real estate. That does not happen in residential. The next thing is triple net leases. So we talk about triple net leases. The buyer, the tenant that you're leasing to, when you own the property and the tenant is leasing from you, they are responsible for the taxes. So if taxes change or go up, which they often do, that is on the tenant. The second thing is the repairs. Any repairs, anything that breaks, depending on how the lease is written, that is going to be the tenant's responsibility, not your responsibility as the owner, which I think is fantastic. And what is the other thing? Insurance. They are also paying insurance. So, like in Florida, I own some triple net lease properties. Well, Florida's insurance has gone up massively, and yet they're the ones who are responsible for that. It's not affecting me. So, what I love when I do the numbers and walk through our assumptions on what the repairs are going to be, or what the insurance is going to be, or how the taxes are going to change. When I'm walking through that with a client on who's buying a triple net lease property, we know those numbers with certainty. And so people love buying commercial real estate because it gives you that certainty on the cash flow that's going to be coming in. Say okay if that sounds awesome. Put it in the chat. I really love triple net leases. They are my easiest leases. And I'm going to give you an example. I owned a medical office that someone was renting from me. And in the lease, I put that they had to maintain the air conditioner. And so it was quarterly. So every quarter, I would just get a receipt with the work that had been done on that air conditioning unit. And I didn't have to coordinate it. I didn't have to pay for it. I didn't have to remind them to do it. They just did it like clockwork. And so in this case, commercial real estate actually enables you to save that 8 to 10% management fee that you would be paying in a residential property that you don't want to manage. So I love it because it basically gives me 10% more profit. All right. As you can tell, I love commercial real estate and I really want to make it less intimidating for you. And so that's why I'm walking you through this in such detail. The next thing with commercial real estate is that you have higher deposits. And it's even common to see reserves, like I was talking about. I might collect the last 3 months' rent, and if they leave, I'm covered for 3 months until I find another tenant inside that property. With commercial properties, you have a lot of flexibility in how you write the lease as the landlord. And so you get to it's like a build your own adventure, right? You get to create the lease how you want it to be. Sometimes, like in one of my clients, he was just making an offer on a Long John Silver's. And in the Long John Silver's property that he was buying, it's actually guaranteed by the corporate. So it's not the individual tenant, the franchise owner, but it's actually corporate Long John Silver's that they would have to go under for them not to make that lease payment to you. So there is a lot of security with commercial leases, commercial real estate. In some cases, you don't actually have to personally guarantee the loan. I see this especially on like a 10 or 20 or 30 unit multifamily property. If you have met certain criteria, I'm not going to go into them. You could reach out to me if you want to know. But when you meet certain criteria and get a certain type of conforming loan, you actually aren't providing a personal guarantee for that loan. So they understand that your W-2 job or your 1099 job or your self-employed job isn't going to cover 36 units. And we have an understanding between me and the lender that I don't have to personally guarantee that loan. Commercial properties, as I talked about, have less management. There is less competition because so many people are concerned about commercial real estate. They don't know it. It feels foreign. It feels scary. They're concerned that if they just had one person in the property, that they might have vacancies all at once and that they would be on the hook for that payment. The way to do that, to overcome that risk, is to buy either a mixed use property, which has commercial on the downstairs and different rentals, like rental units for single families on the upstairs unit. And so you're spreading that risk, or you just get a commercial property that has multiple tenants. With commercial properties, you have economies of scale. So if you own a single family home, you have to maintain the exterior, the roof, the walls, the siding, the lawn for one person to live there. Or if you have a fourplex, it's for 4 people to live there. But with commercial properties, you could own 46 units and you just maintain one roof. And so the returns can be higher. And then also there's opportunities to add value to commercial real estate. And I'm actually going to walk you through what that looks like. So let's talk about first which properties take more time for you to manage on an ongoing basis. And I'm going to check the chat really quick. Okay. I love it. Love your participation. So the properties that take more time from you are self-storage, short-term rentals, medium-term rentals, single-family homes, if you're managing them yourselves, hotels and motels. I mean, you can imagine that is like buying a job. One of you said that you wanted that to buy a job. You're in camp number 4. RV parks and mobile home parks. These typically take a lot more of your time. So if you want to, they also have a higher income in general. So if this is something that you had a lot of time to put toward, I want you to take note of what these properties are, maybe screenshot them, because those are the types of properties that you may want to buy. All right, which ones take less time on an ongoing basis? If you want to be a little bit more hands-off, you're going to buy those triple net lease properties that I was talking about. Starbucks, Long John Silver's. This could also be restaurants. There's a lot of different properties that will work with. It's a big category of different types. Apartments, as long as you hire a property manager. Retail, office space, industrial, warehouses, mixed use, large properties like Starbucks, which is kind of a whole other category, auto shops, medical facilities, and vacant land. So I want you to put in there which of these properties, if there's one that's standing out to you specifically, I want you to tell me which one it is. If there's one that caught your eye and you're like, I might be interested in that, talk about it, because I might address that specifically for you later today if we have time at the end. All right. For you to understand what type of property to buy, I want to teach you how properties are valued so that you can use this to your advantage to create more income. A lot of you were in that camp 1 or 2 where you wanted to take your down payment and make it worth more, increase it, double, triple it. You need to know how properties are valued. And so with residential properties, appraisers use a comparison approach. They're going to take into account market factors like inflation, so appreciation, and market demand. And a lot of those factors are outside of your control. So I want you to understand that while residential feels more safe, and it is safe because it's probably not going to go down in value a lot, you are more at the whim of the market and at the appraiser as well. Okay, Franny says triple net sounds very nice with the crazy fluctuations in insurance and tax rates right now. I totally agree with you. I'll make sure to hit on that later in the decision tree part. All right, and then the second way is commercial properties are valued differently than residential properties. They're valued in 3 ways. One is a comparison approach, one is a cost approach, and the third one is an income approach. And so the income approach is the most common. The cost approach says, what would this cost if we were to build it again? Obviously, that's not going to be the best way to value. We could also say, is this property, how does this compare to what other properties sold for? That's the comparison approach. Neither of those are as effective as the income approach because commercial properties exist to make income. So they use those other types on things like churches. But when you have an income producing property, they take the income and they multiply it by the cap rate, which I'm going to go into. That's a rate of return. And when you multiply those two together, you get the property's total value. And so I like commercial real estate investing, even if it's just large multifamily or triple net leases or whatever, because you have a lot of control over the income of the property, the expenses of the property, and therefore you can control the value of the property. So I'm going to give you a cap rate example, and I wrote it out more beautifully this time for you. In order to find the cap rate, and why the cap rate matters is because it's going to tell you what type of return you're getting on that property. You're going to take the income, which is right here, that first line under annual income, rental income, fill out rent summary. See, it says $160,000, 600. That is for this property. You're going to subtract all of those expenses that you have. So your vacancy, your taxes, your insurance, maintenance and repairs, you can see how those end up adding up. And those often add up to 30 to 40% of the total rental income that you're receiving. That's like the ballpark that I use is 35 to 40%, depending on the age of the property. And so we see that in this particular example, we have an NOI, a net operating income of $105,302. That is before you've made the mortgage payment every month. And so you're going to take that number and divide it by the total purchase price of this property, which is at 1.2 million, which gives you the cap rate when you convert it from a decimal to a percentage. So this property that we're looking at right now is an 8.7% cap rate. And I'm not going into detail on how to go through the numbers and how to create pro formas. We are going to do that on our next webinar, or maybe the one after that. So I am going to teach you this, but I'm just teaching you this basic thing that you need to know right now, which is the cap rate. And it matters for my example. So my dad said that I could use this example, and I think it's so awesome. My dad bought 200 units. And when he bought these units, the city was billing the trash individually. So each and every trash dumpster that they were coming and taking out every week, he was being charged as an individual unit. So that was $84.15. Do you see where I've circled it in the yellow? They charged him $85 for every single dumpster every single time that they came to collect trash, which was once a month, or that was the monthly bill. And then the next 50, for some reason, they were charging at $12.15 each. And so he called the city and said, look, all of these should be charged at the $12.15. It's one apartment complex. And he had to work with them a little bit, but they said that they were willing to do that. And so his annual savings from that phone call were $29,232 that he saved from one phone call. And why this matters is because how you want to add value or increase the purchase price of the commercial real estate is by either increasing the income or decreasing the expenses. So he chose the decrease expenses version. And I'm going to see who said something in the chat. That's completely incredible. I love it. Yes, it is. And so let's follow through on his example. His annual savings were $29,232. And when you use the math that I just showed you, I'm not going to go through it all in detail, but you're going to multiply that by an 8% cap rate. And that is how much he increased his property's value with just one phone call. So when he provides those rental income and expense numbers to the buyer, he now shows that the trash costs less than it used to, and that he has a new expense number. And so a buyer would be willing to pay him for that property. If he were to sell it, a month or two after he had made that phone call, the buyer would be willing to pay him $233,000. I think you could imagine in your mind buying a commercial property, making one change like that, and then selling it and recouping the benefit, right? Isn't that just totally incredible? Okay, so Matthew wondered, why did you use the 8% cap rate? 8% cap rate is the cap rate that that particular property was trading for in that particular area. So cap rate is determined by a lot of other factors, but we have sort of a rule of thumb. Starbucks are going to be a 4% return on your money, which is a 4% cap rate, whereas like a dilapidated home that needs a lot of work, a dilapidated apartment complex is going to be like a 10% cap rate. So his was somewhere in between. They're not the nicest, they're old military barracks, but they're not the worst. And so that's the cap rate that was appropriate. And I'm not going to explain, that's an appraiser's job, is to determine the cap rate. I also want to give you an example of increasing the income. So in a property that I was looking at in Iowa, I flew out there and looked at this property. It's 48 units. They were averaging $656 per unit per month. But the actual average that it should have been was around $790 up to $830. We gave it a range. Well, all that you have to do is go in and increase that rent with the discussion with the tenant saying, hey, like you've had it really good, but it's time for us to increase those rents. Here's what we're going to be doing to justify the rents. And then they can choose to stay or go. If they leave, you're going to remodel the property. If they stay, then you've just increased your savings. And as you can see, if you multiplied that, let's just say the difference. Let's say it was $200 a month that they were under rented times 48. That's $9,600. And so you've just increased your property value in that way as well. Got it. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to teach you one other way to increase the value with commercial leases in particular, and then we're going to come back to residential. I see that all of you guys are staying on and hanging with me. I know a lot of you want to invest in residential real estate, and we're going to get back there with the decision tree in just a minute. But if you're interested in commercial properties, listen up. So the value of a commercial property has to do with its lease. And when you have a 5-year lease on a property, it's going to be worth that value that I show on the left-hand side. As that lease term decreases and it goes down, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, if you buy a property with only 1 year lease or less, it's going to have decreased its value a lot because there is so much less certainty. And so a strategy is called blend and extend. You can buy a commercial property that has only a month of or one or two or however many short lease left, and you can extend that lease. And so you can say you can have that person sign a 10-year lease instead of a 1-year lease, and the value of the property will shoot up. And so that is a really simple way. I'm giving you other alternatives to just going in and finding a contractor and completely remodeling the places, which is typically how we increase the value of a residential property. In commercial, there are additional ways that are pretty interesting. And so even if you aren't here in commercial property and you're not ready to do that yet, I want you to take note and use it to inspire you. Use it to motivate you, saying, I'm going to start, I'm going to grow my down payment, and then I'm going to move into commercial. All right, it's time. I'm so excited. I have been working on this decision tree for a little while. And so I want to make sure that you can still see my screen. I believe that you can, but this would be terrible if you couldn't. So let me know in the chat, can you see my screen? Okay, locked into the new tenant contract. Yes. Matthew, remind me of that question at the very end and I'm going to answer it, but I want to make sure that we get through the whole presentation for the people who came and they're really excited about the decision tree. Okay, yes, you can see my screen. So I'm going to walk you through this decision tree that I created and then I'm going to send it to you. I want you to begin with the question that we started with today. How much money do you have to work with? And I'm going to walk you through each of the decision trees. So a lot of you said under 60K. For your eyes, I really hope that you're on a desktop computer, not a phone, but I will be sending this to you after. So on the left-hand side, if you have less than 60K to invest, you are going to be buying a residential property. Commercial, you generally have to have a higher down payment. And so the next question I have for you is, are you willing to move out of your current home or your current situation in order to make it work? I work with a lot of people who say, look, I'm willing to make the move. I care about my financial future and that's totally worth it to me. And so if you are willing to move, or if you're renting and you want to move into buying a property, you're going to buy a house using only 3.5 to 5% down. A 5% down is a conventional loan, and reach out to me on Instagram if you want to know more about that. But basically, again, you're going to have that $21,900, I think, was your down payment for that $600,000 property. So it becomes very accessible. If you don't have like 20K to invest, my advice to you is just spend time making money. Put all of your time into that. I'm going to tell you the alternatives, even though I didn't put them on the decision tree. That is to become a wholesaler and to basically get properties under contract and then transfer them, send them to someone else and let someone else buy the property. That is a possibility, but I am usually generally working with clients who have at least 20K to invest. So then if you were going to buy the residential property and you're willing to move, you're going to live in it, live in the house for 1 year, and then you're going to do it again. And you can just house hack from place to place to place. I want you to put in the chat if you've done this. Say done that. I know some of you have. I know V has. He's done it several times. But I think it's a great way to build some income in addition to your everyday job. All right, next, you want to stay in the house that you're in. So if you want to stay in the house that you're in, you're going to buy a 2 to 4 unit property. And I specifically want to say, I want you to buy that 2 to 4 unit property in the Midwest. If you are concerned about investing out of state, email me or reach out to me on Instagram after this, and I will email you the copy of the investing out of state webinar, which was our last webinar. I have not sent that out to anyone yet. So if you want it, I want you to specifically ask me for it. All right, now, after you know that you're gonna buy a 2 to 4 unit property in the Midwest, I want you to know if you want very little risk or if you want to remodel the risk and make the larger returns. If you were in Camp 1, you're on the right side of that. All right, I think it's amazing. I wish I started this way. Yes, Matthew, me too. Okay, so if you want very little risk and not to spend much time and you're okay with smaller returns, you're going to buy a turnkey property, something that's adequate, something that you can rent out on day one. You're going to hire a property manager, factor their commission, that 10% or 8% into your numbers, and you're just going to experience the cash flow from that. It's a good way to get started. If I could steer you toward one, if you have any time to spend, I would say go with option number 2. I want to remodel the property and am willing to do some work to create larger returns. Imagine you can do this with your family. You can make it a fun thing. So you're going to find a property that needs work but is in a good area. You're going to secure financing for the property itself and for the remodel. You're going to remodel the property, raise the rents, refinance the property, and then do it again. That is called the BRRRR strategy. So this is where the majority of my clients are, whether they're in that under 60K or over 60K, this BRRRR strategy paired with putting some of your own effort in is a great place to be. All right, now we're gonna go to this 60 to 150K category. Some of you are in this category as well, and if not, after you do that first strategy, you're gonna move over to this camp. So listen up. How much time do you have to invest on an ongoing basis is what I wanna know. If you have 60 to 150K, zero. One of you, I think, was in camp 4. I don't wanna spend any time learning real estate. Your option that is going to be best for you is to invest passively as an LP. You are going to put your money in, this is 50 to 100K, 150K, and you're going to let the experts handle it for you. You're going to leverage their expertise and you're going to keep doing your day job because you're probably really good at it to save up 60 to 150K. I have an option for this. I want you to reach out to me directly because I am part of a fund and this is what we do for people. Whoops. All right. Next, if you want to spend 3 to 6 hours per week for 3 to 6 months, probably more toward the 6-month range, getting it set up and then forget it, I'm going to next ask you your desired result, but I want to answer the question first. Does that dollar amount mean free capital cash, or is it theoretically any type of available capital? Any type of available capital. I will tell you, investing as an LP, your returns are going to be lower than if you're the one doing the work. Because if you're putting the money in and I'm putting the work in, I'm going to be compensated for putting the work in. And so that's typically how it works, but it allows you to keep going on your day job or spending time with your family or whatever you want. All right, coming back to your question. The next question is, what is your desired result? This is applicable to many of you on this call. Number 1, I want to grow my down payment quickly. I want to replace my job and have financial freedom. I want you to say financial freedom in the chat if this is you. So if that is you, it is a lot of my clients and they've had a lot of success with this. Let's see who's saying in the chat. Financial freedom, yes. And may I have the replay? You have to go. Yes. Please send me a message in Instagram with your email and I'll send it to you. So financial freedom and time flexibility. I love this. So we have a lot of people in this camp. The next question I want to ask for you is this your first property that you're buying? If it's your first property, I'm going to recommend that you start out by buying a residential property. And if you want to grow that money, you're going to fix and flip. So I know Matthew on this call. We've worked together in the past. He's one of my awesome clients. He's done fix and flips and he's been able to create a job for himself. The next one is I already own residential properties. So 4 to 6 units of multifamily properties is what I'm going to recommend that you buy if you already own some single family or duplexes. I just want you to move up. And if you want to create that income, I want you to do that BRRRR strategy right over here, 1 through 6. That is what I want you to do. Okay. How many of you have your answer yet? I'm curious. If not, we're coming to you. So the next desired result that you might have is I want to create a steady stream of income, a second stream of steady income, and diversify my portfolio, but I don't need to replace my job. A few of you said that you wanted to diversify. Okay, I want you to buy a turnkey property. I want you to hire a property manager, and I want you to experience the cash flow. This might be 4 to 6 units of multifamily, and you can just buy and hold it. That is going to just allow you to you have your stocks, you have your 401k, and now you're just going to have some real estate, which is, in my mind, it's the most stable of those 3. And so you're going to experience the benefits of cash flow, meaning money coming in, profit coming in every month. All right, last, your desired results. And I think this might apply to Franny. I'm not sure how much money you had, but in this case, I want secured leases. I want to buy a commercial property. And there are several recommendations, but the first 2 that came to mind for me were an auto shop or a medical office. And I'm going to say specifically with a tenant already in place who wants to lease back from you. So that is the route that you would want to go. Secured leases, commercial property, auto shop, medical office. And it also could be, if you consider a secured lease having like 20 units at a time where they're not all going to be vacant at once, that would be another option for you. Okay, let's see what's going on in the chat. I guess I want to buy and hold so my husband can retire early, but not in a huge hurry, next 5 to 10 years. That's really common. I love that. So buy and hold might be a good option. Somebody said, I'm asking myself if I'm willing to move. I love it. Go Janelle. All right, now we're going to go to the over 150 category. If this isn't you, it's going to be you soon. So if you are in that over 150 category, I want you to consider investing in commercial real estate. I want you to consider going with 5 or more units and gagging and going through the discomfort that might come up. You might want to buy something with a triple net lease, and you might want to buy multifamily, and then you can choose whether you want to do a value add or not. Um, if this is you, congratulations first on saving 150K. Several of my clients are in this category, and what they love about buying the apartment complexes that they've been buying is that they're getting significant discounts. Because there aren't so many people, individuals, who are able to put $200,000 down on a property. And so when you can put, one of them just put 500K down, they bought a $2 million property, and then one of them said, she's like, I would be intimidated without you. That was her thought of working with me. But they were able to buy a property that appraised for below market value and is already cash flowing. So that's pretty awesome. Can you show the under 60K again when you have a sec? Yes, Piper. So glad you're here. Here's the under 60K. Take a screenshot if you want it. And then someone else asked, Franny asked, I've heard bank loans are lower, so do you try to cap out those loans first, or do you recommend just jumping from residential to commercial if you have the ability to? I might need clarification on what you mean by bank loans are lower. Can you add that in there? Interest rate, lower interest rate. Bank loans for residential properties or for commercial? Answer that in the chat as well. Residential. Okay, so it's true that residential property interest rates can be a little bit lower, but it's not a significant enough difference. I've actually shared this in my stories. So pay attention to my stories or reach out to me on Instagram and I'll share with you the difference. It is not a significant difference. The difference that I see is residential loans go for 30 years, whereas commercial are more likely 5 to 10, 20, usually within that 20-year period. So you just have to be a little bit more strategic about when you're going to refinance. But I don't have any concerns about you jumping from residential to commercial. I would totally take the jump, make the jump. I worked on that decision tree for you. I hope that it makes sense. If you have any questions about it, I'm happy to answer them. You get to decide how much risk you take on. And so on the left-hand side, you see the risk and the return are proportional. Turnkey properties, buy and hold, mailbox money of triple net leases are generally going to be lower risk than something like doing a development or a property that's vacant. All right, I see a couple people in the chat. Decision tree is so valuable. I'm so glad. And then the other question, Matthew, I want you to ask me that question at the end. I just want to stay on time for the people who need to leave. So here is your vision. When you have one property, when you start out, you're going to be the most fragile. It's going to be the most the least amount of return at the very beginning, but I want to give you this long-term vision because I've lived it and you feel kind of like Superwoman. So when you buy one property, it's going to compound and it's going to start saving money for your next property. This happened for me when I bought those mobile homes when I was 14. And the first one became the second one, became the third one. And once I had 3 mobile homes, all saving up cash flow every single month, I could accumulate down payments very quickly. So we have a snowball effect that we see. And then once you own all of those properties have had the cash flow coming in. And so you start to create a reserve. And if one property is not doing so well, you can cover it. Or if you want to save up that down payment, you can pull from multiple properties to create the down payment. And so that is my vision for you, is this financial freedom and stability that allows you to make the moves that you want when you want to, and to fund your life with that financial freedom like you were talking about, where it eventually retires you. As the properties appreciate, you have equity in them, you have more cash flow, and you have 3, 5, or 10 properties saving you money every single month. So I hope that you have clarity on what type of property that you want to buy. The result that I see happening for you is that now you can go out and start talking with brokers and getting lines in the water for the right kind of property. You will have, when you talk to them, you'll have people and brokers bringing you properties to buy, a team of people looking for on and off market deals for you and bringing them to you. And then you can know exactly what property you're looking for. So you'll know when you can find it and then you'll be able to move forward rather than hesitate. So when you have clarity on, I am looking for a value add property that is 4 to 6 units in the Midwest that I'm going to remodel and then I'm going to refinance out of. And then I'm going to create infinite returns because you create one pot of a down payment. Let's say it's 50K. You're going to have this 50K down payment. You're going to go buy a fourplex. You're going to go remodel it. And then you're going to refinance out of it. When you refinance out of it, you get your down payment back again and you go do it again, but you hold the asset. That is the BRRRR strategy in a very, very quick manner. But you are going to have those infinite returns if that's the strategy that you choose. And when you see one that comes up, you can take action right away and actually own a property, which is the goal. Let me see. It's amazing to take this information and relate it back to the content in my other webinars. It really helps bring everything into one big picture. Yes, thank you, Matthew. And reach out to me if you want to see the other webinars. All right. So I just want to say thank you so much for being here. I am offering a free consultation call for anyone who didn't feel like you knew exactly what you want, or even if you did and you might want my coaching support. I'm dropping it in the chat right now. I want you to click that link right now and book a call with me. I've opened up some calls, a couple of them tomorrow, Monday, Thursday, Wednesday next week. I have opened up some calls for me to take an hour of my time, set it aside, and interact with you. Franny says, thank you. You are bubbling with information. I'm so grateful that you could be here. I want to stick around, answer your questions. But first, I just want to say thank you for being here. I'm so happy to be able to share this with you. And I want to help you on your real estate journey. That is what I get to do. I get to serve. That is why my business exists. And I believe in the power of real estate, as do you. And so we are going to work this together. And take that link from the chat, book your consult call with me. Now, let me see the chat. If there were a couple other people who said something. That decision tree is honestly amazing. I am so grateful. It has been a labor of love. And Piper says, thank you so much. I am so glad to be here. Amisha, I don't know how you say your name. Amisha, so helpful. Thank you. I appreciate you guys being here. I'm going to stick around if you have time to ask those questions that you were wondering before. And if you want to hear the answers to other people's questions, because you might have those questions too, I'm going to stick around and answer those questions for you. So go back in the chat, find your question, type it in the chat. And I see Yashika says, thank you, so good. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing anyone's name, but please put that in the chat and I'm going to answer those questions. All right, I got to figure out really quick when my next appointment is because I have clients right after this. Okay. Who has a question in the chat? The difference between one large multifamily versus several small multifamily properties. Can you expound on what you mean by that? A large multifamily property would be like a 20-unit apartment complex where it's one building and all of the apartments probably are cookie cutter the same. That is one large multifamily. You also could buy several small multifamily. So there's something that my clients own right now. 5 units, 5 units, 5 units, 5 units. And so that would be the small multifamily that are still in that commercial loan. It is about how the loan is working. Does that make sense? I personally would probably prefer the one large apartment building because there's less exterior maintenance. All right, does anyone else have a question? Okay, I see a couple new messages. What is my favorite of all of the types of property to own? Okay, I'm going to say 2 favorites. I love owning multifamily because it has so much stability. I just feel like there's a housing shortage. And so I feel like it's so stable over a long period of time. My second favorite is the auto shop that I've owned. And actually, since you guys are here and you're able to stay, I'm going to show you a couple of my properties. I want to show you what it looks like to buy a small double and triple net property. So let me find my little real estate portfolio presentation and I'm going to share my screen with you and show you the AutoZone that I own. because I really like this property. Oh, it's breaks for less. Sorry. All right. Here we go. I'm gonna present. And this way you can actually see. So I bought this Breaks for Less. It's in Jacksonville, Florida. The purchase price was $393,500. I put 20% down. The income that it brings in every year is $38,400. It had 5 years left on its lease with an option to renew. And when they chose to renew, the lease went up and there was actually more income coming in. The expenses that I have to pay for are only taxes. So this one's technically double net because I'm in charge of taxes and fire inspection. So that total for the entire year of 2022 is when I made this little presentation was $3,550, which means that my net operating income is the income minus expenses. And you saw before when I was showing you that other property, there were like 16 different things that you had to subtract. On this one, there's only those two, taxes and fire inspection. And so my net operating income was 34,850 and the annual cash flow was $13,615. The cap rate that I bought that property, remember that we talked about, was 9.1. That is a killer cap rate. That is a really good cap rate. The cash on cash return was 17.3%. And the loan payment that I had to make every year was $21,235. The interest that I got to write off on my taxes was $9,007. And the equity that I was gaining every year was $12,228. So here's how I wanted to look at this. I had my depreciation, which is for commercial real estate, you just take the total value of the property minus the land and you divide it by a certain number of years. Your accountant will do it for you. But that depreciation was $7,600. And so when I look at this, all of it together, I like to look at my total return, which is those 4 ways that real estate pays you: the mortgage pay down, the cash flow, the tax savings from the depreciation. And then I didn't even factor in appreciation here because it's variable, but that number was $28,143 per year. And I just had fun. I said, thought experiment, if I owned $1 million of this real estate, how much would I make? And that was 70,000. And I wanted to do that because I wanted to know if it was actually more profitable for me to invest in commercial real estate versus in residential or multifamily real estate. I'm just going to go ahead and walk you through really quick a couple of other properties. This one was a true triple net lease. It's a medical office that's like an old house converted to the medical office. Now, whenever I buy a property, it always has an upside. So for this property, the whole front of that is open field and it's on a big frontage road. So I could actually put a dentist's office or a doctor's office in front of this and have 2 properties on that same parcel of land. And so the price for this was $635,000. It's also in Florida. And just to give you an idea, my total return on that property was $41,574 per year. So if you want, take a screenshot of that. I won't walk you through all of it. But this was a property that I actually developed with partners. We developed 60 fourplexes, 60 units of fourplexes. So I believe that's 16 buildings. And these were 4 units each. And then I also own 5 detached garages. And so the market value at closing was 1.48 million. It's now about just a little over 2 million. So it's increased $500,000 of equity that I now have that I could take out and go do something else with and use as a down payment on another property. And so if I owned this property, it's 75,000 of the total return per year. Let's do one more. I also developed with partners this Spring Court fourplex. This is also in that same town in Cheyenne, Wyoming. And the purchase price was $586,000 and it's now worth more. But again, you would make $62,593 per year. So you can kind of compare, like, which one would I rather own? As a rule of thumb, commercial properties like the Breaks for Less are going to pay you. They're going to have a higher cap rate or a higher return than the other properties, which are the fourplexes, the multifamily units. All right, let me see in the chat and let me stop sharing. I own 3 residential properties and would like to make the jump to commercial properties, but I don't know how to find the deals to invest into. I would prefer to be a GP versus an LP. Awesome. So I can help you with that. I want you to take that link that I put in the chat. Let me drop it there again. And I want you to book a consult with me so that we can talk through it because I'm going to help you know how to set that all up. I have set up a real estate fund, and we've spent the last month looking at the operating agreement. It doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to take that long, but I want to help you understand how to be a general partner. All right, Janelle said, how do you decide whether to work with partners or not? That is such a great question. That is up to how much capital you have to invest. Up until this point in my life, I've always had plenty of capital to invest, and I still could, but I saw that that was the bottleneck for me. That in order for me to go big, for me, my goal is to own $100 million of real estate in 3 years. And so I'm going to need to raise $17 million because I'm not going to make $17 million coaching you guys. I love coaching, it's my passion. But again, I'm going to go talk with other people and say, hey, I'm an expert. I would like to help you. And I have this vehicle where I'm going to find the properties for you, manage them, do all of the work, and you're just going to invest money. And in order to do that, you have to create either a syndication or a fund. Several of my clients, we just had a call with one of my clients yesterday. He is doing this. He is creating a syndication or a joint venture. Those are both options. Maybe I'll clarify. A joint venture is when you and partners come together, you pool your money and time. The difference with that is with a joint venture, you don't have nearly as many regulations, and everyone has to have an active participating part in the real estate investing journey. So if that might be an option for you, let me know. I might even be willing to joint venture with you on a deal. Generally, I do that with clients after they've worked with me for 6 months. That's when I offer that to them. But all right, what is a GP? Thank you for asking me because that is an industry term. A GP is a general partner. So when you are creating a syndication or a fund, you have general partners. Those people personally guarantee the loan. They are in charge of all of the day-to-day operations, acquisitions, meaning finding the property, getting it under contract, managing the development, making sure that the numbers work, and then eventually selling or refinancing the property or just holding for a long period of time. That general partnership in a syndication takes some fees for the work that they do. But in the funds, like in the fund that I have, we actually don't take fees for that. It's kind of incredible. So I'd love to tell you more about that. A limited partner is your other option. If you're not a general partner, you're a limited partner. And a lot of my clients have invested. One of them invested in 5 different deals as a limited partner. As a limited partner, you're going to put in generally 30 to 100, 200, $300,000. It's those larger numbers, but you're going to invest that amount of money, let the general partners do the work, and then you are not personally liable for the loan as a limited partner. Make sure that that's what that paperwork says, but that is typical. And so you can leverage other people's experience and expertise in order for you to benefit from owning real estate. And it's a really great way to diversify. That's usually when people want to become a limited partner, is when they just want to diversify their portfolio. Okay. I'd love to know more about your fund. Shall I DM you? Yes, that would be great. You can also email me. Let me put my email, alyssa@alyssaholbrook.com. I'm not allowed to give details to the general public because for our fund, there are certain requirements that you have to meet for us to tell you the details of investing. So I can't share that on this call publicly. On average, what does the monthly cash flow look like when you're an LP? Let's talk about that in our one-on-one call because I'm not allowed by the Securities Commission, the SEC. They don't allow me to share that on an open call to everyone. You have to be an accredited investor, and I can walk you through to figure out whether you are or whether you aren't. Okay, thanks. I love that. Okay, any other questions? Feel free to drop them in the chat. Otherwise, thank you so much for being here. I would love to talk with you in a one-on-one consult. Amisha or Amisha, I'm not sure how to say it. Why don't you just book a consult with me? Because if we're emailing, I just want to be able to explain it to you one-on-one, and that's going to be a consult. So go ahead and use that link, book a consult. We talk through all of this stuff, and I can't wait to see you guys all at the next webinar. So fun to be here. Matthew says, another amazing presentation. Thank you so much, Alyssa. I am so glad to be here with you all. Have a wonderful day. I believe in the power of real estate. You believe in the power of real estate, and we're going to go make some money together. I love the stability that it brings, and I hope to make this more simple for you in every turn, in every way that I can. So have a great day. We've got several other messages. I appreciate your time, clapping, cheering. Everyone's excited. We're all smiling. What a great day. All right. See you later. Bye.